Well, real estate kind of came as a side gig. Like you mentioned, my primary job is in at the hospital. Um, but I bought my first duplex and I kind of keep adding to the portfolio. And it wasn't until when I was deployed that I deeply dived into learning the business of real estate. So I spent hours and hours and months after months learning and reading, listening to podcasts, and truly understanding that there is a strategy to build wealth with the real estate. And when I came back to the States after my deployment, that is when we kept adding more and using different strategies to build our portfolio that we self-managed. I know it sounds crazy because we both have a full-time job, me and my husband, but we have an excellent team and we are able to manage our portfolio from anywhere in the world pretty much.
Welcome to Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette, Talie, where we focus on the deals. Our guests are real estate closers who will share in detail the whole process from finding a deal to closing it, as well as strategies and tips to help you do the same. Here's your host, Anette Talie.
Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Deal Closers. I am your host, Anette Talie, and my guest today is Maricela Soberanes. Welcome, Maricela.
Thank you, Annette. Thanks for having me.
Let me tell you a little bit about Maricela. As a first-generation Mexican immigrant, Maricela arrived to the United States with only $100 in her pocket, unable to speak the language and without knowing anyone. She left her business degree behind and started over by earning an EGD in the healthcare field. She completed her doctorate in Practice of Anesthesia and joined the Navy Reserves. She started an anesthesia service business and has been practicing as a traveler provider around the country and overseas when deployed. America has provided Maricela with unimaginable opportunities, from getting an education to buying real estate. She has a deep desire to give back by providing families in need with clean, safe, beautiful, and affordable housing. That is awesome, Maricela. So tell me, how did you get into real estate?
Well, real estate kind of came as a side gig. Like you mentioned, my primary job is in at the hospital. Um, but I bought my first duplex and I kind of keep adding to the portfolio. And it wasn't until when I was deployed that I deeply dived into learning the business of real estate. So I spent hours and hours and months after months learning and reading, listening to podcasts, and truly understanding that there is a strategy to build wealth with the real estate. And when I came back to the States after my deployment, that is when we kept adding more and using different strategies to build our portfolio that we self-managed. I know it sounds crazy because we both have a full-time job, me and my husband, but we have an excellent team and we are able to manage our portfolio from anywhere in the world pretty much. But that's the short version of how I got involved in the real estate business.
But we talked about this a little bit ago, because Maricela is a friend of mine. We participate on the same mastermind, and she always blows my mind when she starts talking about her stories. You got into your first duplex by accident. So tell me a little bit about that one.
Right. Um, so I was looking for a house. It was just me and my little dog then. And I really didn't want a big house. I wanted to make sure that if I was going to go anywhere, travel or move somewhere, that I could actually rent the house or rent the place that I was occupying. So with that in mind, I in Mexico there's no such thing as a duplex. So to me, it was a different concept to wrap my brain around. But knowing that somebody will pay one side of the rent or the mortgage, um, that was pretty enticing to me. So I was like, well, I can move in one side. I pretty much house hacked the duplex, moved in one side, did the repairs with my family's help and myself, really didn't know about construction and repairs, but we completed that ourselves. And yeah, I was able to go to grad school for 3 years, and that duplex was being pretty much rented out and being paid by the residents, and that allowed me the freedom to pretty much focus on my education at that time. So that, yeah, I guess it wasn't really an accident, because I have the mindset of the business, that there's that options that you have, and you have to create yourself, or put yourself in a position where you have options. And to me, that was the way to go to do it. And I guess I could have done that with a house, but um yeah, I just fall into the duplex, and that's kind of where my heart is as an investor, to dilute your risk by adding units. So multi-living is kind of where my heart is. And in fact, the name of the business kind of calls it that way, Oplex Living. So plex meaning that it's a complex or a group of housing. So multi-living is kind of where we are.
I love it. And that's the exact same reason why I started with the duplex. I thought I can, with the same money, I can buy a house, but if you have a duplex, you're right there dividing your liability, and it's very unlikely that you're going to have both units empty at the same time. I mean, it could happen, but most likely you only will have half of the building empty at one time.
The deal.
All right, so let's talk about the deal. What deal are we going to talk about today?
Well, I have so many good lessons learned. During each acquisition, there's always something that you learn and you're excited about. So it's like I can tell you about all the deals, but I think this is one specifically because it was the properties that we have that we did the most renovation and more extensive upgrades. And again, we did it from distance. This is a single family home.
All right, so the type of property is a single family home. All right, so
yes.
What type of properties? It is an A asset, B, or C?
When we purchased it, it was a C.
Okay.
But we brought it up to B for sure. And that area, so I think I forgot to mention, our portfolio is located in Austin. And in Austin, it's all about appreciation. So appreciation by location. So I know that area very well, and that area is up and coming, and there's a lot of improvement in that area. So when we purchase the property, we either look for cash flow or appreciation. So that specific deal was for appreciation. I found it on the MLS.
Okay, you found it on the MLS, but let me go back before we move to the next question. How do you gauge if an area is going to appreciate? Like, what do you look at when you're looking at these areas, when you're looking for properties for appreciation?
So in Austin, and again, you have to know your market, where you're investing. But in Austin, pretty much anything that is close to downtown, closer to the big highways, and the area of downtown is just expanding and cleaning up and hugging all these like small neighborhoods. So that there's a major highway that it's been there, but they're doing a lot of improvements, a lot of extension there. The area itself is just booming with new houses. Pretty much every other house is like renovated, like some of them tear down and renovated and added multi-livings. So that's one of the signs here, because it starts like that. It starts with a little house here in a little corner, and then next thing you know, like every house or nearly every house is either new construction or renovated to like from C to a higher, either B or A. It depends if you're gonna hold it or flip it. So yeah, the areas that just like keep blooming, and new business, new restaurants, like cute cafes and all that new business is what gives us the motivation that the change is coming.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So how did you find it? You mentioned MLS, but were you working with an agent?
So yes, we always have agents looking for deals for us. We ourselves always strolling deals. So that house was in the market for 30 minutes. When I found it, I drove by and my agent met me there. It was literally 30 minutes, and we put an offer, cash buy.
Awesome. That is the way to go, like quickly, as soon as you can in cash.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you get the edge, right? You don't, people want cash much rather than finance deal that could fall through. That's the reason why they call cash is queen, is king.
Right.
All right.
And
so what was the listing price?
the listing price was 115, negotiated to 110.
Okay, so 115 negotiated down to 110. Awesome. How did you negotiate it? What did you use as a way to negotiate it down?
Fast closing and take as is. The house needed a lot of work.
Okay.
Extensive.
Awesome. All right. So how did you fund this this deal? I know you bought it cash, but I'm assuming that before then you had to get other investments where you could move your money into this one.
Correct. So the strategy that we use is we had a line of credit and another a primary. At that time, it was a primary house. So we have that line of credit built up already, and that's one of the things. You have to kind of have liquidity, not just equity and sitting there. So you kind of leverage that, and as an investor, you kind of have to start thinking about that way earlier before you find a deal. So we just happened to be sitting in some equity, and it was liquid by line of credit.
All right. So for people that don't know, what is a line of credit and how does it work?
Yeah. So home equity line of credit, it works with when your primary residence, you pretty much get a credit card that depending on the bank you use, they usually do on your loan, whatever you have paid off, they calculate a percentage of that. I believe ours was 75% of the paid off loan. So they go how much your mortgage is and what's the value of the house, and that is the difference is your equity. And from that amount, they will calculate a percentage that they then give you a credit card, pretty much, or a loan that you can access. And you pay interest only if you use it. If you don't use it, then it's just sitting waiting for you.
And that is an awesome way to buy property, because you can buy it quickly with that money and you're paying an interest only when you use it. And then once you refinance out of the property, when you fix it up and you're able to get a mortgage, then you can pay back the line of credit. So an example for this, for people that are new to the HELOC, is if your house is worth, you bought it for 100 and now it's worth 200,000, you have $100,000 worth of equity on it. So the bank is normally willing to lend you from 70 to sometimes 89% of that equity. So you can take out, from 60,000 to 89,000, and it could be interest only, or it could be principal and interest. And they are normally for 10 years. So you have this huge credit card where you can borrow money from at any time, and you only pay interest when you are using it. So awesome. All right. So that's the way you bought it. And so what was your exit strategy for this property specifically?
So our strategy for investing is buy and hold. So we knew we were gonna hold and rent it. And so because of that, we went with top of the line fixing. So the foundation, we repaired the foundation. They literally drill holes inside the house. They did a good repair. Same thing, a new roof, a new appliances, new everything, because we know that when you put the money up front, then you can sit on rental that it's pretty much not going to have any problems, hopefully, or minimum, and the capex is going to be low for hopefully years to come.
All right, so let's talk the numbers. You acquired it for 110,000. How much did you invest on renovations?
It was about 50, 55 with everything that once completed.
All right, so that is 165, if I'm not mistaken, all in. And what's the rent?
It's rented for $1,650, so 1,650.
Perfect 1% rule, right? That's one of the things that I always preach, at least here in Florida. It's hard to get a 1% here in Florida, but that's exactly what we do. The 1% rule, for those that don't know, is when your monthly income from the rental is 1% of the purchase price. So in this case, she bought it all in for 110 plus 55. That gives you 165K, and the rents were 1,650. So if you follow this 1% rule, probably the numbers will work. Once the property passes this rule, then you can underwrite it further and look at expenses and repairs and all that you need to do. So was your estimate of the 55,000 estimate, was it near what you spent? Did you estimate near what you spent, or was it totally off?
We were pretty close on our estimate, and one thing I can share is that we have been working with this general contractor for years, and he gave us a quote on the work, and we decided to get 2 more quotes, just because you cannot get comfortable. You're like, okay, well, that we always work together, he's probably giving me a good deal. Well, when we reach out to other contractors to get a quote, we got a significant change on the price for the foundation, which was the biggest foundation in the roof. That was the biggest expense. So we were able to save there about 7,000, I believe, on just from getting a different contractor for a portion of it. So if we have gone with the same contractor that we used and stay in the comfort zone without getting different estimates, we probably would have underestimated the amount of money needed for renovation. So my advice to your audience is always get 2 or 3 at least estimates from your contractors. And
that is so important. That is so important. I have the same experience. You gotta trust but verify. And your contractors get comfortable. She's been working with me for a long time. Let me just do it this way. So I had actually the opposite experience. I have a roofer that I trust, and he's awesome, and he does all the roofs, because I always look for properties that have bad roofs, because people get scared about roofs here in Florida. And so I normally replace them. So he's awesome at always giving me fair quotes. And so when I checked, because I still wanted to check if he was giving me a good price, he was actually a lot cheaper than most of the other quotes that I got. So you just need to verify.
Absolutely. Yes, so our estimates were pretty close to what we ended up spending. And after this, we actually took on doing the general contractor ourselves, and we managed the subcontractors. And the next property, because it was eye-opening, the percentage that the general contractors take. And it's convenience. We were able to do renovations while we are living in different states. So, and we trust him. But when you are able to do some of it yourself, especially as a new investor, it will save you a lot of money, and you will learn like how to handle and how to run the business. Again, you don't have to do it if you don't have to. If you can, or if you have the money to pay the 30% or so,
Or if
increase
you don't
on
have the
general.
time, right? Sometimes you have the money, but you don't have the time. So then that's a
Absolutely.
good option to hire somebody. But I also believe what you're saying is so true. When you do it yourself, you know, and they give you prices, you can counter and say like, hey, this doesn't take that long. Or, you know, I think this number looks a little bit higher because on my previous property it cost me this much when I did it. So you can kind of set some check and balances for your contractors when you have done it before. So I think that experience is invaluable for people that are starting. Maybe the first one you do it with a contractor and then you kind of learn, and then the next one you can do it by yourself, and you know, get the experience so you don't you can check later, because if you don't know what you're doing, how can you check on somebody else? It's a little bit harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so tell me, besides these awesome lessons that we learned, what else did you learn from this property?
This specific property, so it was ready, renovated. We did the video, we put it in the, well, yeah, we were putting an advertisement already. And again, we were living in different states. I was in New York, my husband is in San Diego. So the property was sitting there empty and be ready to view. So again, we have systems and a team that helps us to the next step, which we'll be showing. Well, one of the contractors came back to the house because he forgot something. I think some of his tools. When he opened the house, they have vandalized the house.
Oh
They
no.
yes, it was horrible. This is the first time that like this happened, something like this happened. So we have to proceed again. We are somewhere else, so we have to activate the team and get everything cleaned up again because we're supposed to have some showings. So they broke into the back door. It was horrible. So we learned that we need to use security system. So we invested in that, and it has worked well. But that's one of the lessons that it was very hard to swallow. And now we use security system whenever we can, if the place is going to be vacant or we cannot do the drive-by. But yeah, that's another hard lesson.
Yeah, so how much was the repairs after the vandalism that you had to spend?
uh that was about the $5,000. No, it was probably about 1,000 because the insurance did reimburse some. So always get insurance even if it's empty. Just yeah.
I
But
just I wanted to compare how much was the security system, the investment on security system versus what you spent on just one cleanup, you know, because that puts things into perspective, that sometimes spending a little bit on an extra system will save you a lot of money in the long run.
yeah, and also investing in that. If you're moving from deal to deal, that specific company allows you to move the equipment, and as long as you have a Wi-Fi uh, setup, you can connect pretty much yourself. So look for options. There are some cameras that are not alarm, like they don't alarm the police, but they do make the noise. So protect your properties because
It
it's
could
heartbreaking.
happen to anyone. And also, like, I think there is some of them that work with cellular signal, so you don't even need Wi-Fi. Or
That's correct.
yeah.
Productivity hack.
All right, so now it's time for our productivity hack. So Maricela, you know, I am super excited to get to our three tips because, you know, I am super excited of what you're going to share. But for the productivity hack, what have you done or implemented in your business that has taken you to the next level that you want to share with my audience?
Well, as we talked before, and we shared some of these tips before, but I'm all virtual and I'm all for, I don't want any paperwork trail. Papers get scanned and uploaded to a place where I can access them from anywhere. So that has been my biggest, I'll say, mobility, that allows me mobility and allows me to stay on top of things. As far as I can move anywhere and I have my little bag of carry on. So the business is somewhere in the cloud, and it's a group of apps that we use and systems, but that's that we can pretty much access it if we are online waiting for our meal, or it's like 3 to 5 minutes that you can use anytime, and it gets you ahead, or at least it gets you to a point that you don't have to spend a whole month or day catching up with things, because you have it so accessible, that you can access that at any time and use the downtime, I call it, that gets you ahead. So that's, to me, or to us, is that group of apps that we use and systems that allows us to be productive at any during any time down, or downtime, I'm sorry, downtime that you can find.
Awesome. I love it. And I am learning from you, and I'm going to be implementing some of your tips.
Expert tips.
So let's go to the 3 expert tips. I'm super excited about this because Maricela is going to talk about how to manage your portfolio from anywhere. And this ties in with the productivity hack, because Maricela does everything virtually. So I want her to give us 3 tips on how to be able to manage your portfolio from anywhere.
Well, the first system that we use is we have a virtual office, and they pretty much handle all of your mail. They can scan it for you, open it and scan it. And there's some places that if you receive checks, they could deposit them for you. But for us, is the fact that we don't get any unwanted mail, and that somebody else handles our mail and scans it. If you need to file it, then you request it to be mailed to whatever your location is, if it's an original paper that you need it. Otherwise, once that is scanned, it's uploaded to the cloud, and you can ask them to shred it as well.
Awesome. All right. Number 2.
We use the app for scanning. So we have the Genius Scan, and I don't know if I can say the brand, but it's a scanning app.
Absolutely.
And then we upload any document that is scanned into the Google Drive, and we have folders and for different properties, for different paperwork. But once that we receive a document that it's whether it's by email, you can download it from the email, you can scan it physically, and then you can change it into PDFs. So if we receive a document and then we're going to have to mail it or email it, we use that app, and then it's filed under a specific name and a specific folder, and then it's uploaded in the cloud, so you can pretty much access it from anywhere.
So does this app uploads it automatically, or do you need to upload it manually?
So you can set up the app so that it uploads every time you make a change to a file. So if you open a file, it's going to upload it. If you add a document to a file, it's going to upload it. So anytime that you open and close that document, it's going to upload it. So pretty much it uploads live. You don't have to set a time to.
All right. So you basically, so that you have a cloud that it would be replace your hard drive on a computer, correct? So you're going to have the same folders that you will have on your computer at home, but you have it on the cloud. Have you ever had any problems with not being able to have internet and then not being able to use the cloud?
Maybe that could have been when we were deployed and they shut the internet for the whole base. But other than that, I can't think of anything. Or maybe when I was diving in Belize underwater.
But that is a big concern for me, because I would love to, do it on the cloud, but I'm always like, what if I don't have internet? And then like all my information is on the cloud and I can access it if I don't have internet. I mean, it's very unlikely in the US to not have it, but we had 3 weeks ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago, the whole network for Verizon and I think another big cellular company was down for a couple of hours. I couldn't make a call, so it was pretty unique. But that is unique situation. It's not, normal or common. All right. So what's the third expert tip?
So the third one is another app. It's Notability, and with that app, you can actually sign documents. You can type into documents. So we use that to sign our leases. So pretty much you can do by finger sign and add notes, text it, or type notes, so it looks neater. But again, that one fits into this Genius Scan, and again, it files under the lease or under
So they connect, the Genius app and the Notability connect with each other.
No, that one you have to share the document.
Share it too.
Once that is signed, then you can file it under the Genius Scan. But it's like you can highlight, you can pretty much like a live document that you can add and sign and highlight, and it's just, to us, it replaces the having to go and print a document. And
can you do closings with that? Like, can you sign closing documents, or do you? Because I have gotten other apps to sign documents as well. I've done, I think my last closings, they were digital.
Yeah, so we have done digital closings, but it has to be prepared by the notary. So we just follow whatever they have. And I believe we did one with DocuSign.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
There's a couple of them. DocuSign, there is another one. Did you test these other ones and then you pick Notability for a reason, or you just started with Notability and stay with it?
I started with Notability, and when I first was exposed to it was when I was doing or going to different hospitals, and then you have to print and sign documents for credentialing privileges in the hospitals, and it was just so overwhelming. A fellow co-worker showed me that, and she's the one that opened my eyes to the digital world pretty much, because before then I was having to go to the store and print it and sign it and go to fax it. I was like, oh my God. So we also have the Genius fax, which you can add to the Genius scanner, and it creates a fax as if you were faxing it from, it even allows you to create a face page. So
that's awesome. And are these apps that you mentioned paid, or are they free?
I believe they're paid, but they're no more than $10
a month.
No, once.
Oh, for the full version. Oh, that is amazing. That is awesome. I have to say, I spoke with Maricela last week, and I already got the Genius Scan, but I'm gonna get now the Genius Fax, and I'm gonna look into Notability. I definitely see the need. Sometimes I'm somewhere else and I don't have the documents with me, and I've been using a little bit OneDrive. I've been using a little bit of Google Drive, but I feel that I need to like pick one and then just go with it and, transfer all the information. And, I know that we already talked with the 3 tips, but do you use a different backup system to back up all your info?
The Google Drive.
The Google Drive. So does it connect automatically, or do you just manually do a backup?
So my computer is back up to the cloud, and then I upload all the documents to Google Drive into folders.
So I think that's very important, that you have like multiple backups, because if you lose one, then you have the other one and your files are not going to be lost. Amazing. Maricela, thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge with my audience. I am so excited to know you and to learn from you, every week that we talk on the mastermind. And so tell people, how can they find you? I know you have a blog. So tell us about your blog and how can people contact you online?
Yes, thank you. So my blog is called Seeds for Life Success. The website is from financial survival to financial independence.com. So that's the message. The blog talks about a little bit of my story, and then sharing tips that I have used and I have improved to reach the financial independence. And it's pretty much a small write-up, so it's not too heavy to digest, but it shares true the tips that I have used personally, and that had allowed me to accomplish what I had accomplished. So I really hope that you can connect. And in the website, you can also find a button where you can book a free session pretty much to connect. And I also started doing Wednesday talk, casual talks. It's just connecting to talk about situations, anything that you want to bring to the table. People is always willing to give back. I feel that the more that you present your situation to others, the more points of views you get. And that's the topic for casually getting together over the phone. And everything is virtual, everything is free. It's just a way that I try to find so I can give back to the community and to all the dreamers out there. And so I hope that you can connect there. Again, the website is From Financial Survival to Financial Independence.
Amazing. And your story as an immigrant myself, I am from Peru, if you don't know and you haven't heard my accent. It's so refreshing to see another immigrant like me that is crashing in real estate and is going after your dreams and achieving them, because it gives me somebody to look up to and realize that I can be there as well. And and a lot of people just focus on the negative things, like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. I mean, you came to this country with $100. And so funny, I just remembered when I came to the US, I think I had $100 also. My dad gave me $100, but I was going to my aunt's house. But then the airline canceled my flight for some reason. So my dad got me like an extra $300 payment because they delayed my flight or canceled it, and we had to travel again to the airport or whatever. So it was so funny reading that. So I came with like $400 in my pocket. Thank you so much, Maricela. It was such a nice time talking to you. And if you haven't connected with her, make sure that you connect with her. She's on Facebook also. And go to her websites and read her blog. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Annette.
This was Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette Talie, brought to you by Talie Investments. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Our goal is to provide amazing value on your real estate journey. Connect online at www.talieinvestments.com, where you can find this episode and more. Did you like this episode? Subscribe, like, and share.